That was a very serious look. All right, good morning, everybody. We are live, so we're going to get started. We are here for Marion County Board of Commissioners weekly board session. It's Wednesday, February 7th, 2024. It's 9 a.m. and we're in the Senator Hearing Room at 555 Court Street, Northeast in Salem. And if you would, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we have one individual signed up today for public comment, Jerry Krause. Sir, if you'd go right over here to this table and microphone.
Oh, I thought this was going to be later.
What's that?
I thought this was going to be later after you did your business.
Oh, no, you're first. You don't want to really probably hang out with us all morning. Good morning. If you'd pull the microphone to yourself or you to the microphone and introduce yourself.
Can you hear?
I can hear, but I want to make sure the TV can hear you. So
well, I don't know either.
Okay, speak into the microphone and introduce yourself and tell us where you live.
I live at 246 17th Street Northeast, I guess, in Salem.
Great. And your name?
Jerry Krause.
Well, welcome this morning. What's on your mind?
Okay, on your little mailer, you talked about homeless. And so I have a question for you. Have you ever engaged homeless in conversations?
Yeah.
And what did you learn?
Well, this isn't usually a forum where we do a question and answer with the public. We're just here to listen to you. So if there's something on your mind you'd like to share, this is the opportunity to do that.
Okay, well, I will tell you what I have possibly learned.
Okay.
That they're operating under the primitive instincts of the people who survived when Oregon was a state. When Mexico, for thousands of years, they're doing a primitive reaction of what the people did who survived before we had modern civilizations. And that's, I guess, what I want you to consider. And I have no solution for dealing with it, but I'm dealing with them and learning. And of course, many of them grew up where there weren't any jobs. That's why they're here. Some of them, the good ones. There's good and bad, good and evil. And it's sort of hard to sort it out, but just like one said, he gets depressed here because he doesn't exactly know how to. Okay, here's one thing I learned. They get bored. Now, I have read Sherlock Holmes, and Sherlock got bored, and he went to opium dens. And so this is their behavior is not unnatural to organized society. That's just my comment.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Good to see you, Jerry.
And thanks for reading the 3 times a year newsletter that we send out in the mail. Have a good day. All right, we have an item to remove from the agenda.
Madam Chair, I would move that we remove item number 9 from the board session agenda under Public Works, the incoming funds grant agreement with the Oregon Department of Emergency Management for the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, Underserved Rural Community Population Infrastructure and Vulnerability Assessment.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Thank you. And now would you read the consent calendar?
Man, I'm going to be carrying a heavy load today.
I know.
Okay,
Sorry.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda under Board of Commissioners, approve orders appointing Melvin Peterson, reappointing Brian Butler, Mike Berger, and Sean Baird to the Marion County Ambulance Service Area Advisory Committee with terms ending on January 31st, 2027, and appointing Jim Walker to the ASA Advisory Committee with an ending term date of January 31st, 2025. Under Solid Waste Management Advisory Council, approve orders reappointing Brian Sund as citizen at large and William Postgate as recycling industry representative to the Marion County Solid Waste Management Advisory Council, SWAMAC, with terms ending December 31st, 2027. Under Community Services, approve an order authorizing the Marion County Chief Administrative Officer to execute and authorize payments under the Marion County Down Payment Assistance Program in an amount up to $125,000 for each application. Under District Attorney's Office, approve an order to adopt a new discovery fee schedule as referenced in Exhibit A for fees charged by the Marion County District Attorney's Office effective March 1st, 2024.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Now we'll move on to action items. Under Board of Commissioners, Board Committee appointments for the Budget Committee. Jeff White is going to join us to consider approval of an order appointing Patrick Vance to the Marion County Budget Committee with a term ending June 30th, 2026. Please.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jeff White. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Marion County, and with us is Mr. Patrick Vance today. Mr. Vance has served on our Marion County Budget Committee.
Oh, your mic's not on, sir.
Oh, can I do something?
I don't know.
There we go. Okay,
There you go.
now.
Good morning.
All right. My name is Jeff White, Chief Financial Officer for Marion County. And with us today is Mr. Patrick Vance, who has served on our Budget Committee, if you can believe it, since 1999. When I first saw that, I told Fabi, my administrative assistant, that can't be right. But it is. Mr. Vance has helped us. He has chaired the committee, I don't know if that whole time, but for the entire time I've been here, which is 17, 18 budget cycles. Mr. Vance has willingly agreed to serve another term if the board is willing to have him. He serves as one of 3 citizen members on a 6-committee budget committee, the 3 commissioners plus 3 citizen members. Those committee terms are staggered, so there's 1 renewal every year. With that, I will leave it to you, or Mr. Vance, if you have any comments or any discussion you'd like to have, Commissioners.
No, I was surprised when Fabi sent me that notice. My term expired, and did I want to re-up? And looking back, and I think I've been here through this entire century.
I don't see how that's possible, but I believe it.
And you look so good.
I know. Yay.
I live in the country, and
I was going to say, there's a secret, I'm sure.
No, I really do, and I thought about, was I going to say something? And I didn't intend to, but the citizen participation in government is important. Even little things. I was on some other boards, and I've been a volunteer for longer than that, because before I came on the budget committee, I did the sheriff's and the health department stuff, different activities. And there are people working at the St. Louis ponds, and there are people working at the hatchery, and all kinds of stuff. And I think that's the root of what keeps people attached, keeps people informed about government. You have a role, and you pay attention, and so this makes me pay attention. So anyway, so thank you for considering me. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for wanting to do the work and for being the chair every year and keeping us in line. You do a great job. Mm-hmm. And thank you for the work that you've done elsewhere. It says on your application you've been a member of the Health Advisory Board and the Sheriff's Advisory Committee, both really valuable committees to the work that we do as commissioners, having public voice present in those spaces, 2 of our biggest divisions in the county and probably the most impactful on the forefront for folks that are navigating our community. Mm-hmm. I think it provides you an insight into the work that we're doing and the budgets that we're deciding on.
Exactly.
Which is super crucial. So thanks for giving your time.
Thank you very much.
If I may, Madam Chair, I just want to also say thank you, Patrick, for your service. One of the things that I so appreciate about you is you're an old hand. You know your way around, you know what we're doing, you really understand the budget process. And like Jan, you still have sort of that love of self-government. You still have that love of sort of the people's government working and working well. And
no,
you haven't lost that.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. Because sometimes folks who have been doing this work as long as you have, you get kind of tired, you get kind of ground down, you see kind of all the warts in government, and sometimes people can get cynical and kind of throw their hands up. And I think it's so important that people like you and you for our community keep that optimism and keep that love of self-government.
Well, and too, Commissioner, I don't know where I saw it, but the numbers of people who volunteer in Marion County is astounding. The number of hours that are put in by people that just come in to work in the Master Gardener program or to be on the solid waste or ambulance board or some of those boards where citizen participation helps to sort of leaven the pot. You know, there's an accountability for the elected officials and the appointed managers and department heads, but then there's also kind of a curiosity of people from the street coming in to see what's going on, and I like it. It's just real fun. Yeah. So again, thank you for considering me.
I bet you learned from a letter that Sherry Lintner sent you for thanking your service for a number of hours and people that serve every year, because she does a great job of.
I could not have planned this.
Sherry is our volunteer coordinator for Marion County in the audience, for those that cannot see her hear her on TV. She does a great job. So if you want to volunteer, contact Sherry. All right, well, if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion.
Okay, Madam Chair, I move that we approve an order appointing Patrick Vance to the Marion County Budget Committee with the term ending June 30th, 2026.
And I second the motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Thank you, and thanks for coming today.
Thank you very much. It's
We'll
fun
see
to
you
be
in a
here.
couple months.
You want this turned off or what's on?
No, leave it on, please. All right, now we're moving on to an action item under Community Services, where Steve Dickey is going to talk to us about a sub-recipient agreement with the United Way of the Mid-Willamette Valley in the amount of $200,000 to provide funding assistance to support the expanded operations at the United Way Safe Sleep Shelter, retroactive July 2023 through June 30th, 2026.
Good morning, Commissioners. Steve Dickey, CDBG and Home Program Manager for Marion County Community Services. This morning we bring to you a request for approval of an agreement with United Way of the Mid-Willamette Valley for the expansion of the services offered through the Safe Sleep Shelter. The shelter, prior to this expansion, was able to handle up to 20 individuals. These are women and women with children who are seeking a safe place to be able to sleep at night. And if they didn't have this shelter, they would most likely be on the street sleeping somewhere where it's not safe and not secure for them. This expansion will allow them to accommodate up to 40 individuals. And this request for $200,000 in CDBG funds will provide the funding for additional staff and the supplies needed to serve these additional individuals. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
I don't have any questions. I just want to kind of add, I think this is one of the most vulnerable and most valuable programs that we have in Marion County that happens to be hosted in Salem. And typically we can't provide CDBG funds in the city of Salem because they have their own program at the city level. But because Safe Sleep serves individuals across Marion County, not just in Salem, we have the opportunity to invest these dollars to expand that shelter, which needs a lot more support. So I'm just going to put a plug in for the world that if you don't know what Safe Sleep is, to reach out to Rhonda Wolf at the United Way and ask to understand, maybe not necessarily a tour, because it is it's a safe haven for these women who are in harm's way. And in fact, I know this report talks about it, but Linnell Wilcox, who oversees it, shared some really staggering data with me recently about the number of women, and this is like common sense, but we don't talk about it because it's so disturbing. But women who are street-level homeless often are raped daily and harmed daily by the individuals that they're navigating in that environment, and Safe Sleep prevents that. So while I might not necessarily agree with all the functions of a low-barrier shelter, I am 100% behind this shelter because I think it's important to protect vulnerable individuals in our community, and this is one of the ways that we have the opportunity to do it. So I'm grateful to my peers for being just as supportive and champions of trying to find an environment that they can rest their heads and work towards stabilization.
We've been working on this for a while now. I remember my first year as a commissioner, I was in a meeting with some of the Salem police officers, and they were talking about sexual assaults that were happening in the camp, I think, under the Marion Bridge there.
Right.
And that was the first time I had really heard about this. And I remember the police officer talking about it as a matter of course. Like, this is something we deal with regularly, and I remember being horrified by it. And so I'm really grateful for United Way to step up, because we've been looking for a way to try to help these women, keep them safe. And so this expansion is going to be really important for keeping people safe in our community.
Steve, can you follow up with Rhonda? In the project description, it talks about some of the services in addition to just having an environment for them to rest in. They provide extensive amount of case management. I'm curious, since we've had our beginning conversations, maybe not since Commissioner Willis got here in 2018, but in the last 2 years, we've really been navigating this. What is their success rate of women coming in and stabilizing in the community through the case management system? If you could ask them for that, I'd be interested. I know they have to provide reports, but if they could include that data,
Yes, we
that
certainly
would be
can.
really valuable to me.
Yes.
Thank you. And thanks. I know it takes so long. We talked about this last year, a year ago, almost. Actually, I think a year ago, January. And so here we are, thanks to the federal process, getting it done. I'm ready for a motion.
Okay, Madam Chair, I move that we approve the subrecipient agreement with United Way of the Mid-Willamette Valley. The amount of $200,000 to provide funding assistance to support the expanded operations at the United Way Safe Sleep Shelter, retroactive to July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2026.
I second the motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. It's nice to see you, Steve. Thanks for being here. And still under community services, Larry is going to come talk to us about Detroit Marina Excavation and Resiliency Project.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Larry Rupp from the Community Services Department. I'm an Economic Development Specialist, here to talk about Phase 2 of the Detroit Marina's Excavation Resiliency Project, which is our contract with Mall Foster and Alonji for engineering and permitting. The Detroit Marina's Excavation Resiliency Project supports the long-term economic recovery of our North Santiam Canyon. It consists of the strategic excavation of about 162,000 yards of sediment from beneath the 2 commercial marinas at Detroit Lake that sit upon shallow shelves. This will help the marinas maintain an annual summer lake season of May 1st to October 1st and supporting the local economy. Here's a map of Detroit Reservoir and where those 2 marinas are. This resiliency project is estimated to create $1.2 million annually in direct and indirect economic activity throughout the region, and over 20 years expected to create $14.6 million in net economic gain. Once we excavate these marinas, the result of our Phase 1 alternatives analysis to determine what to do with the sediment after it's excavated, we came up with a beneficial reuse concept that the Board of Commissioners adopted to basically expand the Osprey Point Peninsula and extend it out. This project impacts the city of Detroit because in many ways, it supports and diversifies the recovering economy by extending the city's summer tourism season, creating a reliable recreation season from May to October, which right now can really vary due to multiple factors such as drawdowns for authorized uses, as well as a reduction of the full pool depth for seismic activity. It creates a new destination for residents and visitors with the potential for pedestrian, non-boating, and boating activities out on the peninsula. It creates new fishing access and pedestrian access to the existing Piety Island at lower water levels. It defines safe boating channel by blocking the existing shallow water hazard between the channel northeast of Piety Island and Osprey Point, increases pedestrian and vehicle traffic in the city to help them generate economic activity, and it also creates many positive changes to the local wildlife habitats. Here's our project schedule. It is 2024, and we are at Phase 2 for engineering and permitting. This Phase 2 contract includes permitting support, pre-final design, final design and bid documents, and also bid phase assistance. And the project is being funded from a combination of federal, state, and local sources, one of them being an ARPA allocation that puts our project deadline out at December 31st, 2026, a 2023 congressionally directed spending request, a grant through Business Oregon for a Brownsfield redevelopment fund, as well as some local dollars from our Marion County Economic Development Program. Our staff recommendation is to approve the contract with Mull, Foster & Alonji, who did a really wonderful job for us in Phase 1. We're really looking forward to working with them again in Phase 2 in the amount of $221,554.
Maybe you said this and I either didn't retain it or maybe didn't say it. When, after we approve this, when are we going to start seeing dirt being moved?
Well, our timeline is really mostly dependent on permitting response times. There's a very wide amount of agencies that are involved in this at the national and state level. And so officially, we're planning to excavate in the 25-26 drawdown period.
Okay.
However, if we can expedite those permitting times, we might be able to see an excavation as soon as this winter. But the schedule is really driven by that deadline for when those ARPA dollars expire on December 31st, 2026.
Is USFS one of the permitting agencies that's kind of in the way?
No.
Good. I'm going to see them on Monday, so I would be very happy to talk to them. It was.
Nope, they are not.
Are Forest Service has some permitting responsibility, don't they?
They're actually not our lead agency through NEPA because we got that congressionally directed spending request. It's coming through Housing and Urban Development. And so our NEPA authority is actually HUD that we started in Phase 1. Amendment 2 was to begin that NEPA process because that was our longest lead item for permitting. And so it's actually coming from them to certify an environmental assessment. Our other permitting authorities are the Army Corps, which we do our 404 permit with, and really the long lead time with that permit is that there's a biological consultation with National Marine Fisheries, and those have the longest response times.
But this amendment that we're approving today will get us through all the permitting, is that correct?
Yes, this is 100% engineering and permitting, and then it's also bid phase assistance because this project is coming out of our Community Services Department from our Economic Development Program, and so Mull, Foster & Alonji is assisting us with getting that contractor on board.
Great. Would you prepare a memo to HUD for me? I'm leaving tomorrow morning on a plane to DC, and I have a meeting with them. And I'd very much like to put this in front of them and say, hey, this is a priority, so don't take your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. I'll take the motion.
Okay, Madam Chair, I move that we approve the Architecture and Engineering Standard Professional Services Agreement with Mull, Foster & Alonji Incorporated in the amount of $221,554 to provide engineering and permitting services for the Detroit Marinas Excavation and Resiliency Project through December 31st, 2026.
I second the motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Larry, thanks for your work on this.
Hey,
You're doing
thank
a
you.
good job. All right, now under Public Works, we're going to consider approval of amendment number 6 to the contract for services with Keller Associates to add $705,367 for a new contract amount of $3,255,426 for public relations, project management, basin pilot testing, and additional septic system design tasks for the North Santiam Canyon Sewer Project. Good morning.
Hi, morning, Commissioners. My name is Chris Einma with Marion Public Works. I'm here to talk about the Keller contract increase, amendment number 6, in the amount of $705,367. This contract amendment would expand the scope of Keller Associates services to first and foremost include a field pilot test of an infiltration basin. That basin is essential to the plant that is proposed to serve Mill City and Gates with sewer services, which will allow us to dispose of the effluent generated by the plant into the groundwater in a safe and responsible manner that will then allow it to percolate through the groundwater, and it will eventually come in contact with the river. So our purpose is to determine the travel time, the sustainability of that discharge, and finally to prove up our groundwater modeling that we've already performed using real-time field data. This will consist of constructing a very small basin on the proposed site and just essentially filling it with ordinary tap water just to see the hydraulic travel of the water and compare that to our modeling results. And this will all be in support of our water pollution control facility permit application with the DEQ.
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, was there a question?
Chris, I know that we're going to find the actual answer, but don't we believe that this is like a multiple month process for the water to infiltrate and actually get to the river?
Yes.
So we're going to approve this contract, we're going to do this test, and then like next year maybe we'll know the answer. Is that kind of how we expect this to work?
We'll be able to monitor its rate of travel and get some preliminary data much sooner based on monitoring wells that are on the property.
Okay.
So we'll see some data coming into that which will support our application.
Okay.
The remainder of the data that will be collected over that year will be follow-up collected for the DEQ in order to basically they'll already have made their determinations based on preliminary data.
That was going to be my question, yeah. 'Cause I hope we're not waiting for 15 months or 17 months
No.
and then be like, hey, DEQ, let's get this show on the road. So, okay.
No, actually, we'll be
They're
submitting.
so responsive.
Right, exactly.
We'll actually be submitting based on the computer modeling alone.
Okay.
So our permit application will not need to wait for the start of this process.
Okay.
But this is something that we need to do and they want us to do
Okay.
for the long-term support
Okay.
to pull that permit.
Okay.
Okay. The contract will also add public relations support to help us keep up with the community engagement for the 4 communities. So this will include all of the work that we're doing, keeping the community engaged for the plant to service Mill City and Gates, plus the ongoing efforts up in Detroit and Idana for commercial septic relief and the master planning and design of a future plant to serve those communities.
Does Keller provide that public relations support? Or are you contracting with somebody else to do that?
We'll be contracting with Keller, and they'll be adding MIG as a firm to provide additional support. This greatly expands the amount and time spent doing public relations support, and this will cover kind of public relations campaign that will extend all the way through 2026.
Okay.
And then the contract will also provide for some of our field research and support before we engage in engineering design. So that will include topographic surveys, geotechnical analysis, and the environmental and cultural clearances for the proposed sites of our major facilities in the Mill City and Gates portion. So that will include the water pollution control facility itself, its proposed site, and the proposed pipeline alignment connecting Gates to Mill City. This is all a budget expense under the project, which will be met with ARPA funds. There are no impacts anticipated to any other funding sources or other local funds.
Thank you. Any more questions?
I do not.
All right, I'm ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve amendment number 6, the contract for services with Keller Associates to add $367,000 for a new contract amount of $3,255,426 for public relations, project management, basin pilot testing, and additional septic system design tasks for the North Santiam Canyon Sewer Project through December 31st, 2026.
I second the motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Thank you.
members.
I'd be interested in seeing the public outreach plan that MIG, who I'm not sure I know of, is going to be doing.
Yes,
Great.
I can send you a copy of that as well, and it's in the scope as well.
Cool, thank you. All right, and our last action item of the day, we're going to hear from Greg Walsh on the Marion County Emergency Management Program.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jen. Greg Walsh, Marion County Emergency Management Director. So today I am coming before you to request the approval of the incoming funds from the Emergency Management Performance Grant agreement with Oregon Department of Emergency Management in the amount of $113,083 for the reimbursement to the Marion County Emergency Management Program expenses through June 30th, 2024. This is an annual grant that we get to support, provide some additional supplemental budget to the Emergency Management Program here in Marion County, and is designed to support us and encourage continued development throughout the program.
I don't have any questions. This is the state helping us to fund our emergency management program, which they should. So let's get the money.
Great, and I'm ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the incoming funds emergency management performance grant agreement with the Oregon Department of Emergency Management in the amount of $113,083 for the reimbursement of Marion County Emergency Management Program expenses through June 30th, 2024.
I second the motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Thanks for being here. So, other than to announce that we do not have a Board of Commissioners weekly meeting next week, we'll be back the week after that, which I have no idea what the date is. The 21st. I'm sure we'll have a lengthy agenda of items to address at that time. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Nope.
Me either. We're going to be exhaustively taking on Capitol Hill. I'm trying to get our voices heard in DC
That's it.
on several project areas that are important. Some I talked about today, so looking forward to that work. We'll see everybody in a couple weeks. We're adjourned.